I'd like to talk about the first saga of One Piece and my opinions about it. The first saga of One Piece covers the first 100 or so chapters and contains around 6 arcs in it. It is called the East Blue Saga due to the fact that it takes place in East Blue. In this first saga of One Piece, I think you can already see the creativity of the author come through. From the simple yet well designed characters to the powers and how the fights play out, I think the reader can get a feel for the author's creativity and his joy at telling the story through the pages whilst reading. The main characters were introduced over the course of the arc, the saga, and their names are Luffy, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Sanji. They all have distinct characteristics from one another, which can sometimes lead to conflict, but watching them interact with one another, you do get the feeling that they're a couple of friends enjoying their journey together with one another. But this is also when one of my criticisms for the story comes in. In these early stages of One Piece, it can feel like the story is episodic, and that there isn't really an overarching plot. Even though this is not the truth, because of how the early parts were structured, this is the feeling that it gives off. However, you can chalk this up to Oda's inexperience at this point in his career, or simply to the necessity of such a structure in order to make the early part of One Piece function. Another criticism I have for the story is the lack of good antagonists in this first saga of the story. I mean, Buggy and Kuro were antagonists, but they are far from what one would call scary or imposing. I think the only good antagonist Oda successfully created in these early chapters is Arlong. Arlong is both imposing and scary, and the fight with him truly feels like it's carrying weight and emotions behind it. Whilst the other fights, not so much. The creative use of powers is another thing I would commend Oda for, as the uses of Luffy's power, as well as the goofy attacks some of the other characters have, is really pleasing to watch. I think Oda manages to balance heartfelt emotions and goofiness in these fights properly and create something not a lot of other shonen manga manages to do. All around, I would say this first saga of One Piece is solid and it shows the potential Oda has for growth and his talent. It is still rusty and weak in some aspects, but the fun and good storytelling still manages to hook you, and you get the feeling of wanting to go on this adventure with the characters in the story.